I am Erin, intuitive medium, Akashic and spiritual mentor, and let's get going. Welcome to today's episode of the Spiritual Badass Podcast, and today we have Robin Rice, and she is a master clinical hypnotherapist and witchy woman, which is awesome. So, Robin, will you tell us a little bit about kind of where you got started on your spiritual journey, how you got to where you're at today, and just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, happy to. So I grew up in a Buddhist household, so ritual and the act of worship was pretty common to me. However, I didn't subscribe to the idea that there's just one way to be spiritual, which is a lot of religions have this, right? There's like, you have to do it this one way or it won't work, quote unquote.
The
So
Catholic way?
Yes, right. So I never subscribed to that. And when I was at a really low point in my life, I had no home. I was broke. I had just left my entire past behind, and I knew I needed something. So from being a child to growing up, I had negated the fact that spirituality existed. I wanted to be the cool kid who didn't believe in anything, and I wanted to have the merit of doing everything on my own. So when I grew up and doing everything on my own got me to this point, I knew I needed something different. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, realizing that when we're doing it on our own is essentially when we're losing. So I not became a witch. It was always something that was within me, but I started practicing ritual and planetary magic. And I started practicing other spiritual practices like recognizing that our breath connects us to our mind, body, and soul, that there is a union between our mind, bodies, and souls, and that we are essentially connected through spirit to everything. So that's how I became my spiritual, wonderful self today. And hypnotherapy plays a lot into this because I feel like it is truly the missing link in a lot of people's processes.
It's interesting because when you do spiritual work, when you're mentoring people, helping them to connect to themselves, to spirit, all of the things, the thing that it always comes down to is a lot of the mind fuckery. They have a hard time quilling it. They're not getting to the roots of what's really wrong with them. They're not really healing on that level. So you can still communicate with spirit. It's just a little harder to use your gifts or to really have like super easy connection to spirit. So to me, hypnotherapy makes sense that you're kind of taking the mental function out of it. You're kind
Absolutely.
of bypassing the system to get where you need them to get to, and do you think in your practice, do you feel some people maybe have some reservations? Maybe there's some fear, like maybe you're going to put weird thoughts into their mind, or how have you come across anything like that? Has it been a problem, or have you seen very much of it, or?
So it hasn't been a problem, but it is always a concern for the people I work with, which is pretty normal because I think up until this point, hypnotherapy and hypnosis has a kind of a taboo aspect behind it, right? We think of the charlatans who are in Vegas who try to make you cluck like a chicken. But what I tell them is that you are always aware during the process, that I will never take you anywhere that you don't want to be, and that the techniques that I use are always there to guide you deeper within yourself and to connect you more to your innate self. So I'm out of the equation. I'm here holding your hand and doing the mental labor for you. But a hypnotherapist would never make you do anything that you don't want to do.
I mean, really, to me, like anybody in the spiritual realm, if they're going into your energy, if they're tapping in when they shouldn't be, if they're tapping into your spouse when they didn't get permission, like those are just energetic boundaries, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
definitely things to watch out for in spiritual practice, hypnotherapy practices. If you feel off or you feel an intention or spirits kind of warning you, giving you the red flags, you need to pay attention to that because not everybody operates in integrity, unfortunately. There's somebody in my class right now who She's taking my accelerated intuitive, so we use DNA activations and we use learning to work in their Akashic records. So she had taken another Akashic records class, and like the teacher was putting things on them, like holding them back
Mm,
energetically. And she was
mm,
like, it's a total mind fuck. And so, but I hear a lot of those stories. Like I worked with somebody, or I was working with somebody, and then um she was going to somebody else at the same time because she just was having a lot of whatever. And I would clear her. She would go to this other person who then sees all these things on her. These people were creating things for them to charge her more. Well, then in the end, she had to come back to me to clear the things. And I'm like, you got to stop going to that person. They're not your
mhm.
friend. They're not, you know what I mean? It's just, you just run into so much of, not so much, but, just use caution when you're in a spiritual
Yeah.
practice. So, what do you have people look for when they're looking for hypnotherapy? Like, I mean, do you kind of walk them through it, or do you just have the reviews, testimonials? Like, how do you kind of put people in that safe place?
So when I get in contact with someone, it's very important for me to get face to face with them in this way, So being able to have both the energetic feedback, the visual energetic feedback, and just being able to see if we vibe, because I don't want to work with someone who doesn't vibe with me. That's not beneficial for me as a facilitator, and that's not beneficial for that person. And typically, when I work with someone, we do an exercise that brings them into a hypnotic state so that they can actually experience what it would be like to be quote unquote under. And so we now know that our mind, bodies, and souls are all connected, and they immediately feel that relief within them in all aspects, in their mind, their body, and their soul, once they are in this state. And once they know that I am someone that can bring them there safely.
So, how have you kind of combined hypnotherapy with spiritual practices? So, witchy woman. So, how have you integrated like hypnotherapy with maybe earth elements, or whatever it is that you've created or combined? How did you kind of merge those?
That's a great question. So, in terms of spiritualism and being a witch, uh, as a witch, I learned how to manipulate the energy around me. And the best way I know how to do that is to do things that are good for me. Once I do things that are good for me, I'm more open, receptive, and magnetic to things that are good for me. So when I work with someone in hypnotherapy, I always provide them with the Power of Three journal. And this helps them create a daily ritual for themselves that is completely unique to them. You will see, if you see, it has a daily guide that allows you to have just, like a full list of things that works for you. So at the end of this process, you can pick just one thing for your body, one thing for your soul, and one thing for your mind today, 50 minutes, basta, and you've done something that is good for yourself. And that is such a powerful practice in spirituality, is to continue to give ourselves the medicine, is to continue to do the things that light us up. It's not about putting those things aside when we're trying to heal. And that would be something I would caution people about when they go to a facilitator is, are they trying to make your healing into a project?
Extension, or like keep extending it out type of a situation, or
Kind of making it all consuming, making it hard, making it be like you can't do C if you don't do A plus B. And if you don't do A plus B correctly, you can't, C won't even matter and you'll have to start over. I see a lot of that, both with spiritual facilitators, with, Western practicing doctors. And healing is a process. It is not
it's a
linear.
lifetime process?
It's a lifetime process and it's not linear. And when we're negated, or when we're like cut off because we didn't do something correctly beforehand, or we didn't do the process, then it turns it into a project. It's like, I did this a long time for myself too before I discovered that no, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a project. I kept stopping everything else in order to make my healing a priority, yet that wasn't helping me. That wasn't healing me. It was making me stuck in this traumatic loop because I needed so badly to get an A on this project, essentially.
So how? So it's kind of funny now because I'm like, I always kind of say like normal people. So um do you kind of work with or are more spiritual people, healers, light workers, star seeds, intuitives more naturally drawn to you? Or do you really kind of work with everybody? Or where do you kind of fall in that realm?
So thus far, my clients have been all over the place. I work with Reiki energy healers. I worked with Reformed Catholics. I've worked with, I've worked with people who are corporate and stuck in their 9 to 5 job, all over the spectrum. Because even though it's been so taboo, hypnotherapy has been around forever. And the resounding thing that my clients have said to me is, I've tried everything. I've tried everything. Hypnotherapy, why not? I've tried everything else. Why not? And then inevitably, after working with me, they say, wow. A client who I recently finished my program said that I was able to unstuck a story that was keeping her back, keeping her stuck, keeping her from going after the life that she spoke to me so passionately about. She told me, unstuck. 43 years she had this story. After working with me, gone. She'd done tapping. She'd done tapping. She'd done speech therapy. She had done everything in the book except for hypnotherapy. And it was truly the missing piece for her. And so what I'm hoping is that people don't have to get to that point where, oh, I've tried everything else. I'm so over it. And so I'm coming to you as a last ditch effort. I'm hoping that people will see that hypnotherapy is an extremely viable option. And it is something that will, in my eyes and with my experience and the experience of my clients, will help you heal faster than anything else I've experienced. Truly. And I've done it all, trust me. From shadow work to affirmations, I have done it all.
Yeah. So what is your kind of favorite topic? I mean, is there like a topic that you, I don't know, you love the most, or you're just like, whether it's weight or money or whatever it is there something that you is just kind of your favorite? Because it took me 39 years to find what worked. And I had tried everything as well. Therapy, medication. I had anxiety from 2 to 3 years old. Like I remember those panic attacks. I remember, and it took me till 39. So I started energy healing, Reiki. So I'm a Reiki master teacher, but I did it for chronic pain and it ignited my gifts. And that ignited me to start to meditate, to calm my mind on purpose. And it took a long fucking time to learn to calm my mind. It took a long time. It took every single day of me practicing, listening to a guided meditation and getting to the point where I didn't have to listen, anymore. And then finding ways. So Akashic Records was powerful for me. DNA activations was powerful for me. But like getting to the root of all of my problems is the key. Like this life,
Oh,
past
yeah,
lives, and
absolutely.
getting to the roots. We go to the doctor, they give us a pill. It masks everything. It doesn't solve a
Mm-hmm.
problem. So when I
Mm-hmm.
finally started to solve my problems, then, I really noticed my anxiety was gone, my panic was gone, my depression, plus understanding energy and how other people's energy gets to you. Those were just powerful things for me. And I was 39 and I tried everything. I had done hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
It did not work for me. So maybe it just wasn't the
Mm.
right person at the right time. It was a
Mm-hmm.
dude. It was a weird clicking noise in the background. I'm not overly comfortable with men if I'm in a quiet state anyway. It just makes me uncomfortable. So maybe he just wasn't the right person for me. You know what I mean? But
He
and
wasn't the right
back in the
person for
day I
you.
had
And that's, yeah,
tried, and it
yeah,
wasn't I didn't there was nothing
yeah.
I felt out of it. So, and but now that I can control my mind better and do different things, my mind is more pliable to do and experience things, you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so so when people come to you, do you feel it's easier to work with kind of, I'm going to say it in a weird way, like people that have the mind fuckery, maybe the anxiety is in control, or is it easier to work with people who do meditate or who do um try methods and work on healing and do the things? Like, is there a certain type of person that you kind of call in, like a certain type of a client that you kind of focus on?
I do call in spiritual people because they are aware of the spiritual healing practices that are available out there. However, with hypnotherapy and my method in particular, my goal is to take any mental labor off of you. So I'm for you while you're able to sit back, relax, and rapidly heal. That's what I say all the time. And I created this method from being someone who has ADHD. I I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it. It's gonna be taboo. People might not like it, but I hate meditating. I hate it. It's not for me. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to quiet my mind. I That's okay for other people, but it's not for me. But when I am able to get hypnotherapy for myself, it just clicks because it's like I don't have to do anything. I can let my mind wander. I can be focused or not focused, or but the frequency, that the brain frequency that it takes you on, you are inevitably relaxed. So there's no question of if you're if it's working or not. It's working regardless because of the biological brainwave frequency that we are working with during hypnotherapy. So going back to what you said about your person, I think that it does have a lot to do with the fact that that was not your person. You said it for yourself that you're not comfortable with men when you're trying to relax, or as I heard it, put down your boundaries. So that has a lot to do with it. And I think that that's one of my superpowers in particular, is because I know that this is a very vulnerable place for people. And I create my techniques with that in mind and being conscious of the fact that I'm taking people to places that they've probably never been before. So there are different techniques, of course, but with my specific technique and the one that I have built for spiritual people very much takes into account the fact that we might not be able to focus on what the person is saying, or that we've never been here before. And it definitely comes down to being with the right person. It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of like the PSA we already said, just if you're doing a session, if you're whatever, healer, light worker, hypnotherapist, intuitive mentor like myself, whatever it is, like if you have that feeling, like even though spirit has led me to a lot of experiences, coaches, things that I'm like, ooh, I don't know, but spirit was like, you need to do it. But I still had a reservation, so I knew spirit needed me to do it for some reason. But learning to lean into other things, like especially if I go to doctors and I don't like what they're telling me, because I know my body, I can read my body, I understand my body. So I'll be like, no, you're gonna do this, and this is the test that I want, and you're gonna order it. And I'm done kind of letting them dictate and tell me what's going on in my body, because no, so how do you kind of get people to really tell the truth? What are they really there for? Is it hard for you to, maybe it's trauma, sexual trauma, maybe it's I want a better relationship, but I'm afraid to speak up? Like, how do you get, I mean, obviously you can use your intuition, but how, do you have a method that allows you to have people just kind of be honest and forthright with what they really need versus um, dog and pony showing it around the room, waiting, kind of waiting for them to just pull it out?
That's a great question. So I don't need to know anything that you're not ready and willing to share with me. Plain and simple. You share with me what you are comfortable sharing with me, and I will take you to the root of whatever it is, regardless of how much you've shared with me. And that's my superpower.
Yeah, and that's I like that because that's how I operate too. It's like if you don't get to the root of whatever it is, it's not going to get better. It's just going to
Mhm.
band-aid it. It's just going to be a lingering thing. So I love that you did that. So did you take kind of a traditional hypnotherapy and then made it your own, or did you do like I don't know if there's even spiritual hypnotherapy, but how did that process work for you?
So the certification that I did was clinical hypnotherapy, so it was very classic. And then I took what I knew of the clients that I worked with previously, because I was a health and wellness coach and mindset mentor for 4 years. So I blended the two, took into account that not all brains work the same, and I made my technique in a way that would work for all brains in the best way I know how. I've worked with ADHD people, I've worked with autistic spectrum people, I've worked with neurotypical people, and resounding resounding feedback is that they absolutely love it, and they've never felt so relaxed. They've gone after things after just one session too. My goodness, I have a beautiful, beautiful client who is just absolute powerhouse. And most of my clients, they are powerhouses, as I'm sure you can relate. Yeah. And she was stuck, as a lot of us are, in the golden ticket job. She was making the money. She knew what she was
But
doing.
she
She'd done
hated her
it for,
life.
but
It
she
sucked her
hated
soul out of
it.
her
Sucked her
body every
soul.
single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. And so she took a chance on me, and we did one very, very powerful session for her. And it was probably 3 days that she came back to me saying that she's signing up for this yoga teacher training. She's getting her esthetician's license. She's building this. She da 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 da, and now she's going for it. And that is just such a testament to the power of my method, because that was after one session. I was just like, ugh, get it, girl.
That's really cool. I know I think that's the best part is like the students in my class right now, just watching them where they start. I always document how my students are when they start, what are they talking about, how are their gifts, and watching their growth and their developments and their shifts. It's my favorite part, and that's why I do it because it's like you
Yeah.
get to help them move through and enhance their gifts, move through whatever mental mindfuckery it is. Like, and it's such a powerful place at the end because you're like, see, because you're probably the same. You see into their soul, you know what's in there, you know what they could put out into the world, but all of the mind stuff is stopping their genius, their beauty, their intelligence, their power from really like and their trauma, it's all stopping you from being the fucking kick-ass human being, spiritual person that you really are. And um
Yeah.
how does that
And
work
you
for
know what?
you? Do you like why I mean, is that kind of your favorite part of the process or
Oh,
um
totally. Oh, totally. Oh my goodness. Just when you were talking about, I got full body shivers. Like, yeah, full body activation. That's why I'm here. It took a long road for me to know it, but when I knew it, I made it my goal to be able to facilitate for as many people as possible in any way I can. And this has been the most effective way that I've learned how to. Um, I did really want to go back to what you were talking about the mind fuckery, because there's so much mind fuckery, right? But all that mind fuckery is a story. They're
yep.
just stories, right? And they're stories that are so deep down and programmed in our subconscious. And our subconscious, we now know, controls about 85% of our decisions and our action taking skills. So, on the daily, you are programmed to make decisions and be activated from this mind fuckery. from these stories.
Yep. It's
And
just like the
so
playing it on the loop, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah, just playing it on the loop. And like what you were saying, getting to the root of it, which your methods do as well as hypnotherapy, it allows you to rewrite these stories in a way that benefits you. And once you rewrite those stories, oh, your world changes. Your
the stories don't
reality
have the power
changes.
anymore. So like what I always
No,
tell my
ma'am.
students is you're still going to get triggered. It still might make you angry, but you're no longer connected to the outcome of what happened before. And
Yeah.
they're starting to see that in the class right now. Um, they're just starting to kind of start experiencing that because they're doing past life Akashic work and past life work and today work. So they're just starting to witness that and they're like, okay, that's so like, but they just, one person said, well, this person keeps coming up. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not emotionally attached to them anymore, are you? And they're like, no, they're just coming up. I said, so he's coming up for their person's coming up for a reason. What's happening in your external life? What kind of an association? You know, so now they get to break that core, the energy of it, and then they get to not give it any power and you move forward, you know? And for me, I think that was the biggest part of my healing journey was no longer being stuck to the 39 years of trauma, pain, whatever else was bundled up in there, you know? And to not be
Totally.
stuck to old, I always call it old Aaron versus new Aaron. Um, now that old Aaron's no longer driving the bus, you know, um,
Hmm.
usually I maybe have a day where I'm like, fuck it, I'm fuck it all. But then the next day is rational and you're like, okay, now what do I do? Yes, spirit, okay, what are my options? What can I do? What's, you know, how can we fix this or solve it? Or what do I need to do? What was my part in it? But I'm not on the sinking ship every day where I used to be on the sinking ship. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then tomorrow's worse and the next day's even worse and then something else bad happens and then like, you know, you're
Hmm.
Titanic and you don't have a life raft pretty much the whole your whole life, you know, and I don't have to
I
live
want
that
to
way
write
anymore.
that down. That was really good. If you see that in a post from me on Facebook. Yep.
The sinking ship, it's going down.
Sinking ship.
I know you
Nope,
can
we are
either
in
be
the
your own
driver's
life
seat.
preserver or you could go down with the rest of the
Yep,
crew,
yep,
you know
yep,
what I
yep.
mean? So are you
Mm-hmm.
gonna put it out there for yourself to and you know what I always say too is healing is your responsibility. Nobody else can do it for
Oh,
you. Nobody else can
absolutely.
make you do it. So you can sit and complain and stay in the victim mode, or you can stop saying nothing works and find what works, you know? And it might be harsh, but it's the truth. Nobody pulled my bootstraps up. Nobody forced me. I was so fucking tired of my life. I love my husband, love my kids, but I was like, I hate my fucking life. Straight up, hated it. Hated waking up every day, hated my job, hated taking kids to school and doing all the work, coming home, doing all the work, doing all the kid stuff. No joy, no happiness, no fun, no purpose.
Mm.
And you know, I don't have to live that way anymore. Now I have a purpose. I get to help people heal and develop their gifts and have their purpose and find their purpose and change their lives. And, you know, it's amazing. How do you feel with that part for you? Like, did you feel you had purpose before, or did you just shift your purpose? Or how did that really shift when you kind of found what you really loved?
Uh, that's a great question. I've always lived for purpose. I am a Capricorn through and through. And Capricorns, we go for things head on. We do it
Yep,
messy,
I'm
but we
too.
get to the top of, oh, nice. But we get to the top of the mountain. And so I've always tried to scale these mountains, whether it be getting to France, which I did, scaled that mountain, becoming a teacher, which I did, scaled that mountain, just mountain after mountain after mountain. But now that I've found what I'm supposed to be doing, it doesn't feel like I'm climbing a mountain anymore. It doesn't. It feels light and easy. It's a deep knowing that this is my gift. It's a deep knowing that I'm the best at it and that I don't have to research everything, read every book, and get all the certifications under the sun to prove that I'm good at it. Now that I know what works for me and what my gift means truly, it feels like I'm going back to the mountain metaphor. It feels like I'm just sitting on the top of this mountain all the time, looking at this beautiful view with the breeze and the sunshine on me. And it just feels peaceful and good. And like everyone deserves to be here.
Yeah. I mean, I always say it's kind of like the weighted blanket of your life comes off, you have mental freedom, you have body freedom and emotional freedom, and you're like, shouldn't I be doing like I always had this
Yeah.
thing of like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I can't just be sitting here. I got to be
Hmm.
constantly worried about what's going to happen. I have to be, you know, my mind was so fucking busy all the time. Anxiety, panic,
Hmm.
all night long. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Did I do that email? Oh my God, am I going to get in trouble? And then you stew about something somebody said at work, or you said something and like, I'm going to get in trouble. When am I going to get in trouble? When am I going to get in trouble? And it's like, there's so much mental freedom to not being that way anymore. Like that alone is worth kind of going through and doing all of the things, because it's like wait. And then sometimes I'm like, fuck, am I supposed to be doing something? Like you get mental and emotional and spiritual freedom. And it's
Yes,
just a
absolutely.
different place. So you
Absolutely.
have kind of moved through your purpose, which is really cool. So how did it shift? Okay, so here I was like, I knew I had something good, but so something so I've had a career for 24 years in marketing, management, design, all of the things in between, digital, print, whatever. And I've struggled like marketing myself. How can a person who has that experience? But really, even just leaning in, I've always kind of talked about my gifts separately, Akashic records or healing or intuitive work or development. Um, and I'm like, why? Like, I just had such a hard time with it. So I just put kind of everything together and be okay with it. And I've just really started to lean into myself and stop
Mm.
trying to seek from somebody else because I keep thinking, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm missing something. And it's just it feels so much better to just lean into what I feel and what I think. How have you come across that at all for yourself in your business and your work? Since you created your own method, which is kind of what I've done, um, how long did it take you to give yourself permission to do that? I stuck to the rules of stuff for a while, and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel powerful
Mm.
enough. It didn't
Hmm.
feel aligned. And I finally started to put all the things together. I'm like, why can't I combine them? This class that I'm teaching right now is a combination of DNA activations, learning to work in your Akashic records, clearing, um, and it's a fucking explosive like experience. And I've done these for 5 years and I've never combined them. And I was like, why the fuck? It's almost like I needed to give myself permission to just allow it to be. But
Hmm.
how did you finally were you just like dabbling, or were you just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put it all together and see what happens? Or how did you allow yourself to like let go of the
Become
constructs of
my,
it and like create what you needed?
yeah, like I keep hearing, become your own brand of awesome. So that's what I keep hearing in my spiritual brain. Um, wow, gosh, a million things ran through my head when you said that, because when I started my business, I started it um, uh, 4.5 years ago. So I was doing the whole health and business mentor, and that was very much creating this avatar of who I was in this space. And now I don't feel that pressure anymore to create this avatar. It's like, I'm here. This is who I am. This is what I do. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I know.
It's
I
weird to
don't.
feel powerful too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally just starting to like own it because it is. Like when I get done doing a massive clearing or helping somebody through something, like it's powerful.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but you got to think in the health and wellness arena, if you don't look healthy, thin, muscular, who the fuck is going to listen to you? Because, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's that caveat of which is not true. A heavy person could help you through things. Maybe they just have imbalances or whatever the fuck it is. Doesn't mean they don't have value, but there's such a perception in the health and wellness industry. Did that leave any type of negative self thing for you in that arena? Like you're beautiful, obviously, but like did you have some mental fuckery that was kind of feeling you needed to stay a certain size, feel you needed to show up a certain way, or only show up with green shakes or whatever the fuck it is? Did you have some
Yeah.
pressure with that? Like,
So I was lucky enough to be involved with a company who has a lot of integrity, who has a lot of different people showing up, all the colors, all the sizes, all the amazing people helping all the amazing people. And it's really a team effort. But for myself, I, it's funny because at the time I like preached not to do this. It turned back into a skinny thing. I was doing it all to be skinny. And it's funny because earlier on my Facebook, I got like one of those memories. The memories popped up from when I was really active in this community. And I looked at myself and I was skinny. I was skinny. I'm not going to say I wasn't healthy because I was extremely healthy, but it wasn't about being healthy for me. It was about being skinny. And that's something that I've had since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm 5'10", curvy since I was 12.
Yep.
And
My eating stuff started about 11, 12. Not eating
yeah,
or eating a whole bunch and then not eating again or going long
yep,
periods without food or
yeah,
fat
yeah.
free. I don't even fucking know. But yeah, it started about, I want to say 7th grade.
Yeah, I think that's about same for me. Maybe a little bit earlier because I did have that mirrored back to me through my home life, but yeah, so that was a big issue. And it also became my biggest strength in that business as well, because I found out that a lot of us have been tricked into thinking that skinny equals healthy. So it did actually help me expand my business once I came to that realization myself. But when it comes to building a business, I went from a business that I loved, my soul business, as I called it, to a soul crushing business, because along the way, I had picked up all the methods, all the strategies, all the templates, all the mentors, and I was doing everything that everyone told me to do. And I lost myself in my business because I wasn't doing what was lighting me up anymore. And basically bringing it, I burnt it all down unintentionally, but people say that when you burn things down, it's instantaneous, but no, it starts with a match and
Mm-hmm.
it
And it starts with a choice.
slowly,
Most of the time, you choose
mm-hmm.
to throw it in
Whether
the pile
consciously
or
or
burn it out,
subconsciously. Mm-hmm.
or the
So
self-doubt kicks in or whatever stops you
yeah.
from torching it. Maybe partially torch it and then you're like, fuck, I got to rebuild it.
Oh, yeah. Which I've seen so many times too. I help my clients with that too. Like, no, you don't got to rebuild it. It's okay. Um, so yeah, so I brought it all down and I realized that I no longer, my business wasn't mine anymore. And it wasn't how I wanted to run my business, even though all the experts say you should do XYZ. And I was doing XYZ and it was working. I was miserable. And so starting my own business for the first time, because I was working with an overarching company, got gosh, it allowed me freedom and so much autonomy to figure out what worked for me. And the biggest thing I think for me was I found out that I was neurodivergent. I started working with somebody in marketing who is neurodivergent, and she specializes in neurodivergent marketing. I came back to myself and figured out which parts of my business I wanted to keep and which parts I didn't want. And then figured out how I can do the most of what lights me up, which is one-on-one work. I love working with one-on-one clients. However, in the past, I was told I need to have the group. I need to and now I just want to work one-on-one with people because that's the most powerful thing. Having the magic of someone's full attention on you and getting to the root of your problem, there is nothing like that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think some of it's trial and error too. Like I've done a lot of group
Mm,
programs and then I just learned I also have ADHD. So I really learned that, and I've struggled with learning my entire life, reading, comprehension, the whole gamut. And I really learned that in group programs for myself personally, I don't like it. I have a hard time being
mhm.
heard or seen. Maybe it's just my questions get looked over on accident, whatever it is, but it always ends up feeling like, okay, what am I doing here? So
Yeah,
you leave the experience, I always leave them feeling worse than when I started.
yeah,
So, I just kind of learned that, depending on what it is that I need to either try to invest in the one-to-one experience, or in some way, shape, or form get the personal, personal whatever I'm needing out of whatever the experience is. But that's
Mhm.
part of learning on your journey too. You have to experiment a little and see what works. And maybe some people facilitate groups in a great way that it works for them. But um for me at this point, I offer group stuff, but I also make sure that I keep them small, and I never make sure none of them fall through the cracks. So, I kind of auto reverse whatever I've been through. I make sure that people don't go through that experience with me. So,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
but yeah, and ADHD is just another layer. I just really figured it out, which I should have figured out forever ago because my kids have been diagnosed for ages. Um,
Mm.
but it finally was like, so um, it's just another layer to figure out. And all of these things that you have are not a deficit. They're just part of you. You just have to learn to
Yeah.
navigate them in a way that works for you.
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
people have come to me and be like, "Well, I can't meditate because I have anxiety." I said, "That is a bullshit excuse that you are using. You can meditate if you choose. Maybe you don't like to meditate. Maybe you need breath work. Maybe you need something else, but you can't use your anxiety as an excuse. I have
Mhm.
anxiety. I have paralyzing anxiety. I have panic attacks. I have anxiety attacks. So, so it's like sometimes the one person that I'd call out, she's like, "Thank you for putting me in my place." Because I'm like, you can either keep using that excuse or you can find what works. You cannot keep coming to me and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's like, well, you're not taking any steps to make anything you have any better. So you're in control of the bus. So,
Mhm.
I can help you work through things and facilitate things, but you have to decide that your anxiety is no longer in control. And then you have to figure out how to make that happen. And how is that process for you? And then um uh how can people find you? What do you got going on? And what do you want to leave people with?
The process of my own anxiety or the
Well,
process
like
of
when you
helping my
work with people,
clients
if
with
they
it?
come to you and say, I can't because I have, you know,
Mm.
um, do you kind of talk them through it, or like how has that kind of process been for you? I mean, obviously, it's easier to help people when you have all the things because you know what the monkey mind is like. You know what it's like to have the racing thoughts. You know what it's like to have anxiety. You
Mhm.
know what it's like to panic and all of those things. So you're
Mhm.
coming from a place of understanding, not just like persecution.
Yeah.
How has that worked for you in working with people?
So back when I was a coach and it was my job to be like, you need to go do XYZ, it felt a lot like I was leading the horse to water, which is, so frustrating because you can't make the horse drink. And what I love about hypnotherapy is I don't have to do that. The anxiety, there's a reason behind it. We get to the root and we work it out. I don't have to. It all unfolds on its own. It's it's magic. It's truly magic. And so just to give a little bit more of that, not to be so cryptic. So your anxiety is stemming from either a place of unworthiness, either a place of whatever you got going on. And it's stemming from this story that was probably told to you rather than you created yourself. If you've ever read Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, he talks a lot about this. And it's an amazing book and incredible to learn more about where trauma comes from and how to overcome it at a very, very simple, graspable way. So, when you were young, something happened to you enough times to tell you that you were not worthy. And your brain made that your programming. Your brain says, this is how I am. And if you try to do anything that makes me feel like this is not the way I am, that's a danger. And I have to stop that. And that's where the panic attacks come from. It's a resulting condition based on the anxiety that you're feeling from these stories. So, panic attacks essentially, when you're feeling them, it's I would assume it's a sense of overwhelm. I've had very few in my life, but I would assume it's a sense of overwhelm. How can I do this? Did I do this? Da, 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 da. And it's your brain's way of bringing you back to its initial programming, bringing you back to, oh, okay, I'm not worthy, or I'm less worthy, or okay, I just need to go back to the way things were, because that's where I'm comfortable. This is my even playing ground. And a lot of the times that's why we get stuck. That's why when we attempt to get out of our comfort zones, or we attempt to make lasting changes, we self-sabotage, or something doesn't go our way. And it's because our subconscious programming, which, remember, about 85% of our daily actions and choices are made from the subconscious place, is saying, I don't like that. It's unfamiliar to me. This means we're not safe. I need you to be safe. So it self-sabotages, or makes you make the same stupid decision that you've made 100 times over. And so when we do hypnotherapy, we open the door to the subconscious. We look directly in the eyes, or we open directly those pages of the story that was told. And we erase it and we rewrite it exactly how it needs to be for you to come back to who you innately are. This person who deserves love, abundance, happiness, who deserves to go after their dreams, despite what you were told and despite what was programmed into you. Whew. I get very emotional when I talk about that. So did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's see, you can find me on Facebook, Robin Rice. You can find me on Instagram at radiatewith.robin. And you can find me via my website, radiatewithrobin.com. And I guess the thing that I would like to leave you with is to stop making your healing a project. Healing is the most natural thing that we do. Keep it a process. Allow yourself to flow through it. It doesn't need to be 6 years of doing shadow work. It doesn't need to be something that you get an A on for your healing to be credible. It's a process. Allow yourself to go through it.
Yeah. And, the extension of healing seems brutal to me. I mean, we heal, healing is a lifelong thing, but yeah, trying to extend that stuff out, how painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody has a good week. Thank you so much for being on. All of Robin's ways you can find her will be in the posts all over social media and in the show notes. So I hope everybody has a great week, and we will talk to you later. If you're an intuitive medium, lightworker, healer, starseed, whatever you call yourself, and you're ready for massive and rapid expansion in your connection to spirit, realms, timelines, and your intuitive healing gifts, then Accelerated Intuitive is for you. Have you spent years trying to enhance your gifts and you still feel held back, or that your connection to spirit and your gifts could be so much faster, easier, and stronger? Through the Accelerated Intuitive program, we use DNA activations, accessing, processing, and reactivation, and clearing soul cords and blocks from this and past lives. Light language, expansion of your spirit team, and intuitive connection to expand and unleash your hidden and intuitive healing superpowers. One of the current students says she has been working on her gifts for years and she cannot believe how much progress she has made in such a short amount of time. Her Reiki and intuitive gifts have been exploding. If you're ready for these results, if you're ready to shed all the bullshit and the trauma, that whatever it is that is holding you back from connecting to spirit easier, faster, stronger, then Accelerated Intuitive might be for you. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have questions about this program. It starts early June, and if you have to come in late, that is okay. Everything is recorded and everything really goes at your own pace anyway. So let me know if you're interested in Accelerated Intuitive.